Have you ever wondered what happened when gods went to war not in the heavens, but here on earth? In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh wasn't just a king, he was divine, the living god Horus in flesh. His words were law, his breath was the will of the cosmos. But what happens when more than one man claims to speak for the gods? What happens when divine power clashes with human ambition? This is the story of blood, betrayal, and sacred war. The rise of divine conflict Triton, not just in scrolls and stone, but in the very sand soaked with the price of power. Let's begin, not in a palace, but in a tomb. In the dark silence of the Valley of the Kings, the pharaohs rest. But behind the golden grandeur lie secrets few dare to speak. You see, Egypt's greatest rulers weren't simply chosen, they were challenged. And every great reign began with a struggle. Take the tale of Hatshepsut, for example. A woman born into royalty but never meant to rule. Egypt had no queen pharaoh before her. When her husband died, she declared herself king, not queen. She wore the false beard, adopted the masculine titles, and took her place as the living Horus. But the temples whispered, the nobles stirred. Her stepson Thutmose III was exiled from power, watching silently as Hatshepsut rose higher than any woman had before. Was it piety or rebellion in disguise? When she died, her name was erased from monuments, her image chiseled away, as if the gods themselves had rejected her reign. But it wasn't the gods, it was revenge. Generations later, Egypt would be rocked again, this time by a pharaoh not content with the gods as they were. His name was Akhenaten. He didn't just change religion, he tried to erase it. The great pantheon of Egypt, with gods like Amen, Osiris, and Ra, were swept aside. In their place, a single, blazing sun. Akhenaten declared himself the only one who could commune with this god. He moved the capital, closed temples, fired priests. He rewrote the soul of Egypt. Was it spiritual awakening, or madness wrapped in power? To the priests of Amen, it was sacrilege. To the generals, it was weakness. And to the people whose entire life revolved around rituals, festivals, and the balance of Matit was chaos. And chaos invites conflict. Akhenaten's death was sudden, suspicious. His city abandoned, and his god forgotten. But the whispers of his revolution never fully faded. His son, the boy King Tutankhamun, was forced to restore the old ways, to mend what his father broke. But not with words, with blood. Beneath the golden mask of Tutankhamun lies a darker truth. He died young, likely murdered. Why? Because divine conflict doesn't end when temples reopen. It ends only when rivals are buried. Now let's speak of Seti I, father of the legendary Ramesses II. Seti was a military pharaoh, brilliant and devout. But he too inherited a kingdom torn by past upheaval. Every monument he built was a declaration. The gods are back, and the king is their voice. But gods are fickle. Set, the god of chaos, was both protector and villain in Egyptian lore. He killed Osiris, he fought Horus, but he was also worshipped for his strength. Some pharaohs honored him, others cursed his name. This duality tore Egypt spiritually apart. In some cities, Set was exalted. In others, he was the embodiment of evil. The divine conflict was not just in thrones and crowns, it was in belief itself. And so came Ramesses II, the so-called Great. His reign was long, his statues enormous, his wars glorified. But even he couldn't escape the divine chessboard. His enemies outside were formidable, the Hittites, the Libyans, but inside he faced the ultimate threat, time. Ramesses tried to defy death itself. He filled Egypt with temples, carved his name deeper than any before. But even his mummy couldn't escape decay. And in time, the gods he honored so richly began to fade. By the time of Cleopatra, the final pharaoh, Egypt was no longer the land of gods, it was prey. Rome, with its own divine rulers, came hungry, and Cleopatra, she tried to use divinity as her shield. She was called Isis Reborn, goddess in flesh. But divine titles meant nothing to Roman blades. The story ends, not with a coronation, but with a suicide. A queen whose divine bloodline ended not in fire, but in silence. So what do we learn from these divine wars? That in Egypt, power was never just political, it was spiritual. And those who dared claim godhood had to fight for it not only with armies, but with the favor of the heavens. Because to rule in Egypt was to walk a knife's edge between man and God, and every misstep left blood in the sand. If this journey into Egypt's hidden wars moved you, I invite you to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because history isn't just stories. It's the truth buried beneath our feet, waiting for someone who dares to uncover it. And I'll be here to help you dig.